All right, what's happening? It's Robert Phoenix. It's Tuesday morning, the 20th of Augusto. And I have been rocking my ass off to the Rolling Stones this morning. And hopefully we're going to refresh all the various portals. Where am I now on YouTube? Where am I over on 15? Come on now. Come on now. Come on now. Come out to show out. Okay, we're almost there. You can feel it. You can feel it. Almost there. 1 second. Okay, we got that. We got that. Come on, let's go. Start streaming. We want streaming. I gotta change my bit rate here. 5G land. All right. Video. YouTube video does not freeze. There we go. All right. Yes, you're going to see me doing my chicken head dance because I was listening to music while I was waiting for the stream to come online. Give me just a second here. It seems like things are a bit slow. It's slow this Tuesday morning. As the kids go back to school. Do you remember when you used to go back to school after Labor Day? Remember that? Remember they used to do that? You go back to school after Labor Day? Now it's like, oh, let's get you into school in August and teach you more stupid shit. More stupid, useless shit. Just waiting for the streams to align themselves. Stream alignment. Stream alignment is very, very important, especially at about 3 in the morning. As a male, I would know this. You need good stream alignment at about 3 in the morning. Or else it's a little messy. All right, I think we got it. I think we're here. I think we're all together now. All together now. All together now. That was the name of a TV show that used to air on Sunday mornings, I believe, in the Bay Area. And I think the host was it Belva Davis? It was a show that they did about the black community in the Bay Area. All together now. We're all together now. ATM, what's happening, everybody? Jasper is with us. He's on the other side of the screen. He's on the other side of the experience. So Jasper Power is in full effect this morning. And I've rediscovered this thing called sleep. What an amazing thing. My God. Oh, speaking of, you heard his name called. Got to get in on the action. There he is. Okay, say hi to your fans. Yes, I know. They're there for you. This is all just a ruse. He's just using me. That's all he's doing. This is just a new... You know, cats use their owners. We think that we own them. That's not really the case, right? He's using me. He's like, oh, I'm gonna rub his chin. I'm gonna rub his chin. I'm gonna rub his whiskers. But really, what he's doing is he's positioning himself to take over the show one day. I know that. I know that. One of these days, he'll be in this camera, and he'll just be staring right at you. And then he'll take over your life and your mind. You think I'm kidding? You think I'm kidding? This is all just a sweet little act that he's putting on. I'm thinking that by the end of 2021, Jasper's going to rule the world. It may not be a bad thing, to be honest with you. It may not be a bad thing. I'd rather have Jasper in a position of power than 99.9% of the humans that currently have it. So, anyway, I've discovered sleep. I've rediscovered sleep. Yesterday, man, I slept. I tried to get up early because I think there's less time in a day. And that's what it feels like. I get up and the day's over. It's an amazing phenomenon. And so I've been trying to get up earlier, but my body is like, oh, no, no, no. Oh, no, 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 Mansoor. You must be sleeping today. And that's what happened yesterday. And I've been sort of trying to catch up on years worth of lost sleep. They say that you can't do it. My body says otherwise. And it feels like I'm getting closer and closer to being in sleep in real time. You know, back in the old days, they used to have what's called second sleep. We're talking life on the prairie shit. Okay, we're talking wagon train, high chaparral. So basically, what would happen? The lights out. You had to conserve your tallow and your kerosene and stuff that kept the light on at night. And then when the sun went down, shortly thereafter, lights out. People went to sleep. Night grandpa, night grandma, night Jasper. Right. And so that would go on till about 3 in the morning. And then people would wake up. They'd wake up and they would do stuff. They would read the Bible. They would pray. Maybe they would do some knitting from their bed or something. With a low light Bible, they pray. They would do that for about a half hour, 45 minutes. But then they go back to sleep again. But then they would have what's called second sleep. And second sleep would basically get them up about 3 hours later. And crack of dawn, light breaks, the roosters cock-a-doodle crow, and people are out of the gate being productive citizens. Productive citizens. Not even citizens, just humans. I mean, things weren't really all that defined back then, now were they? Anyway, the sleep thing has been very interesting, and I'm doing my best to catch up on years worth of, for all intents and purposes, sleep abuse. I suffered from sleep abuse. I don't think there's anything such as sleep abuse. I think I just made that up. All right, so shall we get to the topics at hand today? The burning topics at hand. So let's just hover over Epstein. The latest now is Bill Barr has fired a warden. Right? He's put this one warden on administrative leave. Jasper, get your curly tail onto the other side of the computer, where you can do your thing and channel. Go channel the rest of the show. So I'm going to relate a story as it relates to what's happening with the whole Jeffrey Epstein thing. It's a long time ago. This is probably around 2005. No, before that, 2003. We rented an RV for the weekend. And it was in some, I think it was like near Diamond Bar, which is kind of the sort of the outpost of LA, the eastern outpost of LA. Once you get past Diamond Bar, Corona, you're sort of headed out into the desert. I think Snoop Dogg lives in Diamond Bar. I don't know why anybody would want to live in Diamond Bar, but that's a whole other thing. Anyway, so we were renting this RV in Diamond Bar. And we get there, it's on a Saturday, didn't know that they were closing at noon. We get this RV, and it's kind of a piece of shit. And at that time, the person I was with was not so happy with it. Right? So being the guy, you got to take care of business. So it's up to me to go talk to the people who are running this RV rental place. So I get there and I talk to them. What do? They go back to the guys in the back and they start yelling at them. Yelling. I'm like, Look, I'm from Northern California. We don't do this shit. We don't yell at people. We sit down and say, hey, what's going on? Why is this not happening? Why is this not working? Okay, can you just fix it for him? We're getting ready to leave. Let's get this done so we can all go have a great weekend. Whatever. They start yelling. They did this twice. They yelled at them twice. I've never seen this before. Just yelling. And now they're associating me with the yelling, these guys. And they're looking at me like, you fucker. You know, we're gonna take it out on you now. Which is psychologically sophisticated in some ways by management, right? Because if they're the ones that are yelling and I'm the one that is complaining, who do you think they have the beef against? They have the beef against me because I'm complaining. They can't do anything because those people signed their checks. But it was weird. But this is what Bill Barr is doing now. It's the equivalent of yelling. It's like, okay, well, I'm going to fire this head of the federal prison system. You know, I'm going to fire this guy. Oh, good. Like firing somebody is going to somehow account for this massive fuck up that happened when Jeffrey Epstein was in your prison in New York. And the guards apparently are not cooperating. They're not cooperating with the investigation. The warden who is in charge of that facility has been given a leave of absence. You know, she's doing this shit in one of her pictures, right? I was watching this guy. His name is John Perry, P-A-R-R-Y. He used to be an NFL official, and now the networks have these officials in their booth so that they can massage the truth. Because if there's a bad call, the officials can get in there and say, well, you know, this is how I saw it. The letter of the rule, I can see where maybe they missed, you know, this is, if somebody is too honest, they're out. They're out. So now they got this John Perry guy who's up in the booth, yammering on and on about the rules and all this bullshit. And every time I see him, the guy's doing the Trump thing like this. He's doing this. It's like, what are you doing that for? Are you part of the crew too? He's doing. You know, you ever see how Trump does this thing? First time I saw that was when I saw the group Massive Attack, and Horace Andy, who's a really good singer, did that the entire time he was singing. Like, what is Horace Andy doing? Why is he doing this weird thing with his hands so entire time? Well, now I know. Now I know. He's focusing the energy of Lucifer between his fingers will go right down into his second chakra and thus amplify his sexual and personal power. I mean, that's what I think it is. It's what it feels like. Right? Why else would you do it? It's the Earth symbol, right? It's headed down. It's headed down. And this guy, you know, he's on the NFL broadcast now. That's all he does. He sits there with his stupid fucking hands like this. It's like, dude, do something else with your hands, okay? Do something else with your hands. Just because the president does it doesn't mean you have to do it. Anyway, whoa, Jasper. I'm going to do this cat. By the way, he will not be at the event in October. He will not be. I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is. If he was, I'd probably charge people to see him. That's what I think I would do. 25 cents to a pet. No. He's got to start making his money, though. He's carrying his water right now. That's okay. When he takes over the show, he'll get all kinds of donations. I'm sure that'll happen. So I wanted to talk about some stuff. I'm not done with Epstein. I don't think he's dead. Sorry, I don't think he's dead. I think somebody died. Whoever that joker was with the broken neck that might have looked like Epstein. No, I don't think it's Anthony Bourdain. Somebody died, but I don't think he's dead. I think he was extracted. I think there are two ways to look at this now. Right. One way is that that he had too many connections with the Mossad and MI6 to ever be fully, how do I say this, tried, stripped bare, naked, before the public. That was never going to happen. Never going to happen. Never going to happen. I was surprised they let it go as far as they did. But they had to set it up where he theoretically was going to commit suicide. But then didn't do that. But that got into people said, oh, he's unstable. Jeffrey Epstein's not the kind of guy that would commit suicide. He would always think that somehow he could get out of his shit, because he has. So was this a Trump deal? Did he facilitate this as some kind of a payback for the whole Russiagate thing? Was this a Trump affair? Is this what happened? Was this Trump getting over on his so-called critics? And by the way, are we speaking about Russiagate anymore? No, we've already talked about this. That's long gone. That's way in the past now. Now all of a sudden it's all about Trump's a racist and everybody's a racist. But only if you're white. If you're white, you're a racist. It's just the way it is. That is the message that the media is continually spewing 24/7 now. Great. And they're harping on and on about white nationalism and all this bullshit. If you really, really, really looked at what's going on with white nationalists, there's nothing there. There's nothing there. It's a boogeyman. It's a boogeyman. Basically, what's happening is that people are waking up. They're getting tired of being lied to. They're getting tired of their food being poisoned. They're getting tired of having mandatory vaccinations. They're getting tired of 5G being shoved down their throat. They're getting tired of endless wars. They're getting tired of being told what to think. They're getting tired of being told what to say, what not to say, and people are waking up. And so the controllers now have to push back on that. And they have to brand everybody who's waking up to be a hateful, racist, sexist, misogynist, homophobic, transphobic, fascist. That's the peril of waking up. If you wake up, you will be put into that category. Doesn't matter what your skin color is. If you're Jewish, you're called self-hating. If you're black, you're called a porch Negro. Right? If you're Hispanic, I don't know what they would call Hispanic, quote-unquote, traitors. But that's the pressure that is exerted on people who wake up. And if you don't fit the profile, you'll be targeted with ad hominem attacks. And so people look around and go, oh, I don't want that to happen. Oh, I can't handle that. Oh, I might lose my job. Oh, I might lose my wife. Oh, I might lose my... And all those things are true, by the way. Those things are true. Those are not trivial things. At the end of the day, what are you here for? You can't serve two masters. That's what I've learned. Sometimes it get lonely. That's what happens. So I think Jeffrey Epstein's out there. They just basically took all of his money, all of Les Wexner's money, Big Daddy Lex. They took all that money, and all those properties, and all those holdings, and everything associated with Jeffrey Epstein, and they rolled them into a trust. And the trust will then be rolled into the Zorro Foundation. I think there's one other foundation. It's gone. Everything's gone. It's all gone. Whatever money is there to be seized, which wasn't, any property to be seized, which likely wasn't, it's gone. There's no compensation now for any of the victims. It's just done, gone, see ya, up in smoke. It's in these trusts now, which are basically ironclad and can't be crowbarred. I mean, I guess you could crowbar them somehow, because if somebody really, really, really was a threat to the establishment or the existing order, trust me, they would bust their trust. It would happen. But it would take a lot of work, it would take a lot of manpower, a lot of dollar power, a lot of massaging of judicial decision making, all the stuff that would go along, but they would do it. In this case, they won't. And I think Epstein's gone. I think he's probably been recirculated. He's probably got a new identity. He's probably working on a new face, new fingerprints. And besides, there's more Jeffrey Epsteins out there anyway. He's not the only Epstein. Trust me, there are other guys. And people that, like, did you know about Jean-Luc Brunel, the guy who was his fixer in Europe, the fashion guy, the model guy? Probably not. There's a lot more people like him. And they consort with people in circles of power. That's how it works. By the way, Epstein's girls were getting $100,000 a pop. Think about that. Think about that. They were getting 10% of it. $100,000 a pop, and they were the gift that kept on giving because they were having sex with underage girls. See, I said girls. Underage women. Underage girls. And so once that happened, they had the cameras on, and Blackmail City, right? Anyway, that's where we are with Epstein right now. Bill Barr is fired, the head of prisons. Good. I'm sure that's going to change a lot. You know, what it does is it sends a message. It says, you better toe the company line or else you're going to lose your cushy fucking job. That's what it says. So whoever's next, who's going to sit down next in this seat, remember what I just did. You better shut the F up or else you're out of here too. This is done. He just comes in and fires the guy. Why doesn't he fire himself? Why doesn't he step down? Right? Why doesn't he step down? Well, you know, that would be the ultimate level of accountability, wouldn't it? You know, this happened on my watch. I'm ultimately responsible for what happened with Jeffrey Epstein, and as a result of that, I need to step down because my performance here is unacceptable. Do we hear that out of him? No, not at all. Not at all. He wouldn't do that. Probably in his best interest, since his dad hired Jeff Epstein when he was the head of that school in New York, and Jeff Epstein was the teacher there, the physics and math teacher there. But that would have been the right thing to do. Why fire somebody who had nothing to do with what went on in that building theoretically, except maybe push some paperwork along? Why? Send a message. Why don't you step down? That's not going to happen, though, because that's not the way these things work. Not in the halls of power. All right, so here's today's main topic. I had to talk about Epstein, though. Here's today's main topic. What do you guys get a hold of this? CEOs of 181 top American companies, including Apple and Amazon, say the new focus of corporations is to improve society rather than make profits for shareholders. Now, this is significant. 181 CEOs of top U.S. companies have redefined the purpose of corporation. Before, the purpose of a corporation was defined as maximizing profits for stakeholders. Now, the purpose is to improve society as well. The new definition was released on Monday by the Business Roundtable, a group of top American CEOs that dates back to 1997. The 181 CEOs signed the statement, including J.P. Morgan, Boeing, Apple, and Amazon. The new statement says corporations will focus on valuing customers, hiring diverse groups, and compensating them fairly, and protecting the environment. Okay, let me break down every one of these things that they're going to focus on. Valuing customers. Here's how I will interpret that. You ready? they will value the customers that they want to support vis-a-vis their political agenda. So, for instance, if somebody says, I don't think that Dick's Sporting Goods should be selling guns anymore, what do you think is going to happen? They're going to value their customer. And then they'll create endless, and I mean endless, what do you call them? Endless surveys. Oh, we value your experience as a customer. Would you mind taking up the next 10 minutes of your life answering a few questions? That's how they consider valuing their customer. They'll value their customers as long as their customers are aligned with their newly found religious belief in corporations being the new force of good in the world. Hiring diverse groups. What does that mean? It means, see you later, Whitey. That's what hiring diverse groups means. It doesn't mean that they're going to hire the best people for the job. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't qualified people from quote-unquote diverse groups. But that's not what they're saying. That is not what they're saying. What they're saying is we're going to hire. What does that mean? It means, well, we're just going to hire people because they're diverse. Diverse groups. Compensating them fairly. Okay, great. What have you been doing up until now? And protecting the environment. Do you think that means that they're going to push back on 5G? Do you think that means that they're going to push back on Bayer / Monsanto / Roundup? Do you think they're going to push back on genetically modified organisms? Do you think they're going to push back on chemtrails? Do you think they're going to push back on black goo? All the stuff that we really need to protect our environment? Do you think they're going to protect that part of the environment? Answer is unequivocally no. They'll protect their version of what the environment is, which is climate change. That's what they're doing. This is what their new plan is. And this goes under the rubric of Pluto in Capricorn. And when Pluto first went into Capricorn, I wrote extensively about it. I did like a 9-part series called The Melting Economy on Pluto and Capricorn. It was the rise of the corporacratic state. And what we saw during that phase of Pluto and Capricorn was when the government went in and started to buy businesses. They bought Chrysler. The United States owned Chrysler for a period of time. They took care of Bear Stearns' debt. They're buying companies right and left. They had Solyndra, which was an absolute and utter failure and a total scam, climate change scam. So the government got involved with the raw, naked acquisition of businesses. This is a pretty significant part of the equation that is about fascism. Basically, it's when the governments and the corporations merge. That is the definition of fascism. Now, on the back end of all of that, here we go with South Node in Capricorn, Pluto in Capricorn, Saturn in Capricorn. Corporations now want to become the government. They want to institute and legislate how we feel, how we interact with them. They want to insert their power, their will into the global theater, which is tremendous. And they're going to do it at the risk of losing profits. So they're making a shift now from capitalism to socially based capitalism or socially concerned capitalism, which for all intents and purposes is socialism. And this mission statement by these 180 companies, and I can read you who they are. I can read you the list. I have the list right in front of me. I'll read you the list. It's not insignificant. Oh, you got Tim Cook. Looks like he has a drinking problem, by the way. Looks like he's got a serious drinking problem. Jeff Bezos, who I think is probably being talked about as playing the Penguin in the next version of the Batman series. What do you make a great Penguin? He's got one eye that's kind of open, and the other eye's kind of shut. And who else do we have? Mary Barra from GM, and who's this clown? Brian Moynihan, Bank of America. All right, let me tell you all the companies here. These are all the companies that are going to shift the economic paradigm. A.O. Smith Corporation, Abbott, Accenture, ADP, ACOM, AS Corporation, Aflac, AK Steel Corporation, Allergan Pick, Lion Energy, Altec, Amazon, American Airlines, American Electric Power, American Express, American Tower Corporation, Ameriprise Financial, Anthem, Aon, Apple, Aramark, Assurant, AT&T, Ball Corporation, Bank of America, Baxter International, Bayer, BCG, Bechtel, big player, Best Buy, BlackRock, another big player. That's, what's his name? Warren Buffett, right? Is it? No. Warren Buffett's Red Hat. My bad. BlackRock, BNY, Mellon, Boeing, Borg Warner, BP, Bristol Myers Squibb, CV Star Company, the Carlyle Group, Caterpillar, CBRE, Group of Industries, Chevron, Chubb, Cigna, Cisco, Citigroup, CNH, Coca-Cola, Cognizant, Comcast, ConocoPhillips, Corning Incorporated, Cummins, CVS Health, Zimmerman, Dell Technologies, Deloitte, Dow, Duke Energy, DXC Technology, Eastman Chemical Company, Eaton, Edison International, ExxonMobil, EY, FedEx, FIS Flex, Fluor, another major player, Ford, Fox, Freeport, McMoran, General Dynamics, wow, big military industrial complex, General Motors, Goldman Sachs, Guardian Life, Hanes Brands, Harman International, Hearst, Home Depot, Honeywell, Huntington Ingalls, IBM, Infor, International Paper, Interpublic Group, ITC Holdings Corp., Jacobs, John Deere, Johnson & Johnson, Johnson Controls, JP Morgan Chase & Company, KeyCorp, Kiewit Corporation, KPMG, L3 Harris Technologies, Land O'Lakes, Leidos, Lennar Corporation, Lockheed Martin, Lindell Bissell Industries, Macy's, Mallinckrodt Pharmaceuticals, Marathon Oil, Marathon Petroleum, Marriott International, Mass Mutual MasterCard, McCormick & Company, McKesson Corporation, Medtronic, MetLife, Micron Technology, Moelis & Company, Morgan Stanley, Motorola Solutions, NASDAQ, National Gypsum Company, New York Life, Noble Energy, Northrop Grumman, Novellus Energy, Oracle, Owens Corning, PepsiCo, Pfizer, Philips, Pitney Bowes, Principal, Procter & Gamble, Progressive, PwC, Qualcomm Incorporated, Quanta, Raytheon, Rockwell Automation, S&P Global, Salesforce, SAP, SAS Institute, Schneider Steel Industries, Sempra Energy, Siemens Corporation USA, Silver Lake, Southern Company, Stanley Black & Decker, Steelcase Incorporated, Stryker, Suffolk, Target, TC Energy, Telephone and Data Systems, Texas Instruments Incorporated, Tishman Speyer, Travelers Company, TSYS, Turner Construction Company, Union Pacific, United Airlines, United Technologies Corporation, UPS, USAA, Vanguard, Verisk, Analytics, Visa, Vista Equity Partners, Vistra Energy, Walgreens, Boots Alliance, Walmart, Wesco, Western and Southern Financial Group, Western and Union, Whirlpool Corporation, White Pearl Limited, World Fuel Services Corporation, Worldwide Technology, Xerox Corporation, Systems, Inc., Zebra Technology Corporation, and 3M. There you go. Those are the 188 out of the top 200. I suggest you find the 12 that weren't invited to the party and support them. Because these 188 companies will all now begin to move in the same direction. They're all going to move in the same direction with the same idea and the same goal and the same focus in mind, and that is to reconstruct society, to reprogram our world as we know it. As we know it. And they're not going to care about profits. You know why this is an important thing? Because they've sucked up most of the profits already. They realize they're kind of getting to the end of the game. That's what's happening. You're like, there's not much, it's kind of like you go out and you hunt a big beast. Okay, you hunt a really big beast, and you bring the big beast back, and you start, carving and cutting and carving and cutting. And right now, there's not a lot left on the bones of the beast. It's like, there's not much there. Let's take what we can and basically tell them there's a new game in town. And you're not a part of it. And we're going to set all the rules, and theoretically it'll be for your own good. Because we don't care. We've made so much money. We're so insulated that any kind of hypersonic social change is not going to affect us. But in fact, we'll benefit from it. We will benefit from any kind of tsunami shockwave that comes into the social sphere. Why? Well, number one, we'll create it. Number two, we're well positioned and well insulated to take care of anything. And then you'll come crawling to us, and we'll be your new masters. And you'll need us. You'll need us for everything. Look at that list. You'll need us for your drugs. Walgreens and CVS was on there. You'll need us for your communication. You'll need us for your food. You'll need us for everything. We have everything. You'll have to come to us. So you may as well basically buy into our new vision of the world, which is you're going to get a hell of a lot less, but you're going to like it even more. Okay? Because social change is what's up. And our messaging is going to reflect that. Our messaging is going to reflect our so-called diversity. Our messaging is going to reflect our so-called love for the climate and respect for the climate. That's what's going to happen. So we're going to be fed a bunch of horse shit. And we're going to start to see all kinds of, trust me on this. We're going to see commercials with 2 trans parents and a kid. It'll happen. It'll happen. You'll have clearly a trans guy going to trans woman, a trans woman going to trans guy, and they're going to have a kid. And that's going to be the messaging we're going to start to see. You may think that it's hateful. I'm just telling you, it's part of their diversity. It's part of their diversity. You'll start to see commercials where all of a sudden a girl from the West will be taken into some kind of Muslim marriage ceremony. And I'm not here to denounce Islam, although some people would probably like for me to do that. That's what I'm not doing. I'm just giving you the scenario of diversity. That's coming. Now, we've already had, like for the last, 4 to 5 years, this, we're going to throw the mixed race model into your face. I had a really, I'm a big sports guy. And so there's some interesting things happening with the NFL right now. And it's 9/11, by the way. And I'm going to bring this back to what I just sort of jumped off on, which is this mixed race piece, which is what they've been promoting heavily in commercials. Heavily, okay? It's like, here, we got to have the mixed race thing. So they've already signed off on this kind of diversity deal, even before all representatives of all 181 could sign off on their declaration of making their declaration of dependence is what it is. That's what it really is. So, I'm a sports guy. And the NFL is following right in step with this kind of, hey, we're going to get woke. We're going to be carrying the torch for being socially and just and aware. So they just did a deal with Jay-Z, who Jay-Z was chosen. Jay-Z was chosen. He did his deals. He's Beyonce's handler. And Jay-Z is... He's kind of like the Magic Johnson of hip-hop, I think. That's what I think. And there's some people think he's talented, and he's got these hard-hitting albums. And the guy was a gangster. He was a dope dealer, and he rose up through the streets. That's his cred. He's got street cred, right? J. Hova. Anyway, the NFL has decided that, man, we got to get on top of this SJW stuff. We need to make sure that we keep our fans. Why don't we do a deal with Jay-Z? Let's do a deal with Jay-Z, and we're going to put Jay-Z in charge of music and entertainment. So now Jay-Z is going to run the halftime show, okay, at the Super Bowl, amongst other things. But that's going to be his sole goal. One of his big goals, one of his big gigs is to run the halftime show in entertainment. Because the NFL doesn't want to run out there and trot out REO Speedwagon next year. They want young, hip talent, right? So it's like, well, we're not doing this anymore. Jay-Z is. Now, apparently, it's also part of a fast-track model to get Jay-Z in an ownership position. I'm assuming that's probably going to be Miami. Because Steven, what's his name, who runs the Dolphins, is an old dude. He's an old dude. He's got minority owners. I think J-Lo's got a piece of that team. I think Jay-Z will probably wind up owning the Miami Dolphins. It's a good fit for him. You know, Miami, beach culture, street culture, you know. Anyway, he did this deal. And Eric Reed, who plays for the Carolina Panthers, started to bitch about it. No, Jay-Z's a sellout. Jay-Z's a sellout. And Eric Reed is Colin Kaepernick's. It's his boy, right? So I watched this show. It's Speak for Yourself. Jason Whitlock, Marcellus Wiley. It's a good show. It's pretty advanced for a show that talks about sports. I like Whitlock. Don't always agree with him, but I like him. So Marcellus Wiley is commenting on Eric Reed, and he's commenting on Colin Kaepernick. Marcellus Wiley grew up in South Central. Marcellus Wiley came from the streets. Okay, he came from a situation that neither Eric Reed nor Colin Kaepernick ever had to face. And one of the things that Marcellus Wiley brought up, which I thought was very interesting here, was that Colin Kaepernick was mixed. And then he was given for adoption. He was raised by two, close to wealthy, middle-class parents who had a ranch, a dairy farm, and a cheese company in Central California, in Turlock. Colin Kaepernick had a really good upbringing. Colin Kaepernick, guess what, had white privilege. His parents were white, and they had money, and they loved him. They loved him. But Marcellus Wiley pointed out he was mixed. Pointed out that his girlfriend, Nessa, isn't even so-called black. She's Egyptian. And he also pointed out that Eric Reed is mixed and grew up in a situation where, guess what? Privileged. Did really well. And so he was incensed. He was incensed that these two guys that didn't have to go through the everyday shit and having to basically take their lives in their own hands while going to school in South Central, that they're the ones that continue to sit on one knee and put up this protest bullshit, right? And he was pissed off. He's like, you don't speak for me. But the interesting thing is he mentioned that they were both mixed. And here's somebody, a so-called black dude, right? And he's calling him out. He's like, that is not your experience. And you don't speak for somebody who is, quote-unquote, classically black in the definition of the true word. And I thought it was interesting. Because now there's this clapback going on that's taking place. Because theoretically, what do you, if you're Eric Reed and you're Colin Kaepernick, what do you want? You want somebody like Jay-Z to get up in there and to make a deal. Because isn't that what that community wants? Representation, a seat at the table. And when they get it, what do? They bitch more. That's what they do. They complain. Oh, he didn't take no knee. You know, I'm not going to sit here and comb through Jay-Z's life. I'm sure it wasn't easy. I'm sure growing up in the streets of New York was not easy. And I'm sure that he was looking for any way up and out. And that's what people do. That's why people join the army. That's why people join the Masons. That's why people join gangs. They look for affiliations. They look for people that can get them the fuck out of their situation. That's what happens. And I'm sure Jay-Z did his deals. Now, is he token? Is that what Eric Reed and Colin Kaepernick are basically saying? He's some sort of token kind of, symbol for their struggle. Those two dudes, and Colin Kaepernick especially, he never had to struggle a day in his life. Not once. Not once. And this whole kneeling thing got started by this guy who'd been a veteran. He was a long snapper at UT. He was a Army Ranger. His name is Nate something. It's not Nate Boyer. It's Nate something. Anyway, Kaepernick was sitting down during the national anthem because he was pissed. He was pissed that he lost his starting job. That's why he was sitting. I was like, why are you sitting? Mm-hmm. It had nothing to do with political consciousness. And then this ex-Army Ranger guy said, well, why don't you kneel and make it more respectful? And that's where it all started. It wasn't even his idea. Okay? Some Army Ranger dude. Thanks, Army Ranger dude. Look, Colin Kaepernick can kneel. He can kneel. But the business, up till now, would determine whether or not their customers would appreciate the political gestures and the overtures. As of the last few days, with those 188 companies all meeting together, that doesn't mean anything anymore. They don't really care what their customers think. They care what their customers value, but they only value the customers that they care about, the ones that they deem are important to their ongoing future, so that they can continue to rule the roost from their corporacratic crow's nest, from their thrones. And speaking of corporations, there's a lot of talk about reparations. But there's never any talk about corporations being involved in the process of reparations. It's always the American people. It's always the American middle class that's somehow responsible for the pain and suffering of millions of people, many of which weren't even around at the time that the suffering, so-called suffering, occurred. But I'll tell you who did profit off of it was corporations, one of which was Monsanto, which is now owned by Bayer. The Monsanto family were slave owners. It's on the record. Look it up, unless they've scrubbed it from the internet already. They're slave owners. That's what the Monsanto family did. They lived in New Orleans and they were slave owners. Do you think they profited off of slaves? Of course they did. And now that they've sold their company, Bayer owns Monsanto. Shouldn't Bayer be beholden to what happened with the Monsanto family and their ownership of slaves? In which case, doesn't that open a Pandora's box that corporations should theoretically be in charge and responsible for reparations? If that's the case, I don't have any problem with reparations. Let it be on the burden of the corporate back. If they truly value their customers, then maybe they'll give this some thought. Maybe they'll actually table it. Especially now that, profits really aren't that much of a concern. We're going to put profits behind having a better world. Well, put your money where your mouth is, corporate America, or Globo Corporation. Corporations don't even really exist inside of America. If they do, there's some P.O. box in Delaware or some bank somewhere in the Caymans, some banking account in the Caymans, or they're part of the Queen's Trust. You're not even American. But let's just say for the sake of argument that you are. Put your money where your mouth is, corporations. Get in the reparation game. Especially now that profits aren't that important to you. You think they'll do that? No, of course they won't. But they'll put out commercials right and left that'll promote reparations. And whose backs will it be on? It's going to be on the backs of the people that they want to ultimately atomize. You know why? Because at some point people are going to get hip to the game. And I don't care what side of the fence you're on. I don't care if you're on the social justice side, you're on the red pill side. People are going to wake up, and they're going to look around, and they're going to say, these are the people that are responsible for the misery and the madness and the programming, and then it'll be a night of torches and long knives. And corporations don't want that. They don't want that. Jeff Bezos doesn't want that. Tim Cook doesn't want that. None of these people want that. Jamie Dimon doesn't want that. So what are they going to do now? They're going to curry favor. And they're going to try to build as much quote-unquote goodwill with the masses. So then when that day comes, we'll have the so-called masses on their side. That they'll be their homies when the shit hits the fan. Corporate America, we're on to you. I'm on to you. And I know the people that are watching this video are likely on to you as well. What do you guys have to say? What are your thoughts about what these clowns are trying to do? Let's see, Monsanto's son-in-law started Monsanto, named it after his wife, pretty much done with National Freak League. Corporations, entities, there you go. Monsanto was a sugar baron. Yep. By the way, Alfie Lavoie's research is on Facebook. What else we have? They get down on your knees, Colin. Corn has to be cultivated. Makes me wonder. You can come and go out of my crazy. I can imagine Colin be confused out in the world. Beyonce. I'll tell you a little story about Beyonce. She's not even black. Beyonce's not even black. She's not. A friend of mine hung out with her cousin at Burning Man. Hung out with her. She said, oh, no, Beyonce's not black. She's Italian. She's Italian. Matthew Knowles isn't even her father. He's her handler. Beyonce's just a robot. She's just a robot. She if you've ever watched Beyonce, watch a video of her courtside at one of these games. She's sitting there singing to herself and talking to herself half the game, and Jay-Z's like, she's just a robot. What else we got here? You want your head back. No, you want your head back. There you go. How's that? Sorry. Hey, I got some other good stuff, but I'm almost out of here, time-wise. So I got to go. I want to talk about the hemp plane tomorrow. Check it out. Some good news on the horizon. Some interesting stuff. Innovation. How about that? All right. I'm Robert Phoenix. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Chatlandia. Use your head in order to discern what's real, your heart to say what's possible. Have yourself a great day.